Just want to describe it as pure darkness. I felt as though I had been confined in a room with no light, and that no one could help me get out.
This alone is a good reason for mental breakdown.
The outbreak of COVID-19 has killed millions of people around the world. However, there's another disease among us, one that's all too often we choose to ignore.
I think that those who suffer from mental illness have been neglected and that getting them the help they need to recover is not a top concern.
No one is immune to mental illness.
I've got everything in life. I should be happy, but I'm not.
It can strike at students, at teachers,
Our job, that is stressful even before the pandemic, have become even tougher. With longer work hours, struggles to engage remotely, repeated pivots from hybrid to remote in-person instruction, not to mention the fear of acquiring COVID-19 virus from other people.
kids,
Being in a house full of arguments and loud shouts is scary. They sound like a monster.
doctors,
With the lives of thousands and hundreds of people in our hands, seeing various people experience different kinds of pain and suffering is something that is hard to bear.
In this film, we'll hear from people living with a mental illness who refuse to let it control their lives. One in every 8 people in the world live with mental condition with anxiety and depressive disorders, the most common. In 2020, the number of people living with anxiety and depressive disorders rose significantly because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Initial estimates show a 26% and 28% increase respectively for anxiety and major depressive disorder. As the world reels from the COVID-19 pandemic, are we ignoring another pandemic that's been with us for a longer time?
Scrolling through social media platforms, I've been seeing various people use sensitive terms associated with mental health condition as a part of their aesthetic. Overusing such terms could lead to minimizing their impact on individuals. With the words like crazy, delusional, depressed, and the likes from other makes me feel like people who are experiencing this kind of condition are ignored by society.
I live having all the things that I want, from new clothes, gadgets, shoes, almost everything from the store. I can even buy anything I want with the money I have. I couldn't ask for more. There's always the feeling of emptiness inside that I couldn't figure out. And that emptiness, it grew into something worse.
Hi, I am a consistent honor student. I go to school an hour before my class starts and spend the time reading or reviewing. I never skip classes. I finish all my homeworks. I study a lot, but that was before when I still felt like myself.
Teaching high school students was never easy. However, the fulfillment and satisfaction that I feel through it are really incomparable. But then, when the coronavirus outbreak strikes, the struggles of us teachers adjusting to different kinds of learning modalities caused a huge impact. Changes are happening in just a blink of an eye, and due to this, experiencing stress and feeling burnt out cannot be prevented.
Our house used to be lively and fun. Living with my parents and siblings brings so much joy to my heart. However, as time passed, our joyful moments slowly vanish. Every now and then, I can hear my mom and dad shouting at each other. There are also times that because of too much anger, they lash out their emotions towards me and my siblings. Experiencing this kind of conflict, I could not help but be scared. I could not understand what was happening. Lots of what-if scenarios are constantly popping into my head. Sadness and fear are slowly overpowering my system.
Trauma can leave people vulnerable to mental illness. The care system was already struggling, but then the COVID pandemic hit.
I train, expecting that someday there may be a catastrophe. But living through it is something I don't think I can ever be fully prepared for. Before the pandemic, I usually do my rounds, carrying out my duty to monitor patients' health and aid in their recovery. Some of the time, I am doing consultations for people. Throughout this course, I still have the time to rest myself physically and emotionally and at least prepare myself every day before going to the hospital and witnessing again the struggle of a lot of people due to their condition.
I've gotten the idea that I should always keep my emotion to myself. Through social media, I've learned not to trust people and to hide your most vulnerable parts from them, since they have the power to ruin you at any time, even if they are unaware of it. This is why I always pretend to be joyful and in good condition when I'm actually sad or experiencing other negative emotions. I'm worried that they laugh at me, invalidate my emotions, or criticize my personality. I couldn't endure that kind of pain. So in order to avoid it, I usually let people perceive me solely as a positive person who is strong and will not falter in the face of any abnormality. Despite the fact that I am the exact opposite. When I'm by myself, that's the only time that I can cry and let go all my emotions.
Ever since I started to earn money, all I wanted to do was use it as an opportunity to try and make myself feel better and divert the emptiness that I always feel. So, I would get into this general kind of spending cycle of shopping to make myself feel better. Unfortunately, it didn't, so I was very frustrated. I constantly experienced anxiety and loneliness, but remembering the satisfaction of shopping online is what drives me to continue spending money. However, I always get the after effect of feeling some shame and guilt from the thought that, oh, I shouldn't have spent that much. This made me question myself and my decisions in life. It made me ask, why am I feeling this way? Is money and tangible things not enough to make me happy?
The first time that I struggled was during the week of our examination. I had trouble sleeping at night. I am not motivated to go to school and study like I'm used to. I feel like all the things are meaningless. I couldn't concentrate in class. Every emotion just builds up and consumes me. It was hard. It continued for a long month and I just want to drop out because of shame, inability to do any work, sadness, and wordlessness.
I love my parents, but they become the reason why I feel sad. Our house doesn't feel like home at all. They're shouting everywhere. Lots of arguments. Sometimes they blame me and tell me hurtful words. They punish me physically whenever I make mistakes. Every word, every hurt, every moment with them are the cause of a heavy sadness that filled my soul. It seemed like it was always nighttime and nightmares, and every morning. I don't like it. I want to get rid of it. But living with the misery in my life, I am unable to see the sun, the dawn, to feel, to hope, to dream.
Keeping all my emotion to myself is hard. There are times that I want to let it all out. I want to scream and shout what I'm feeling to the world. But then, I realized that I couldn't because my mind constantly reminded me not to. Nevertheless, I'm aware that keeping all of this will be detrimental to my health in the long run and would only make things worse. So to stop it, I tried to be brave and go to a psychologist to address my condition. At first, communicating what I truly feel was challenging. But the doctor told me to take my time and tell her when I was ready. She made me feel comfortable and secure. So I finally had the courage to tell her. Several months of taking therapy, I finally understood myself and my purpose. I've come to realize that sometimes all it takes is someone who can listen to us without judgment. Someone whom we communicate without discriminating or invalidating us. Someone who can make us feel safe and at ease. Most importantly, I've learned that we shouldn't be afraid of asking for help because, after all, we are only human beings who can be weak at times.
The turning point for me was after I had my children. I started to recognize that it wasn't about having the things in my life that gave me happiness. It was actually much more about experiences and values. So, the first thing that I did was to remove my credit card details from the online shops that I use the most to give myself the opportunity to rationalize my decision. I also implemented the rule for myself of adding things to my cart but then making sure that I remove them after 48 hours. To anybody who feels that they are an emotional spender, I just want to say that we should spend some time first recognizing that we are humans and that it's okay to feel some negatively. We should give ourselves a moment to recognize our feelings, and once we do, often we can control them slowly and change them by doing something different. Something that would make us feel genuinely happy.
With the aid of people around me, I've come to realize that when we're talking about mental health, it is not just about a person getting anxiety or depression or missing the absence of another person. Sometimes it's just anger, frustration within yourself, and the struggle to be a better version of you. But instead of being the better, you strive for perfection, which results in you being better but less happy. You feel the constant need for validation from someone or other people. It could be your parents, a friend, or people you admire. You want validation from them, and when you finally get recognized, you feel the constant need for validation from that specific group or person. And when you can't meet that need, it slowly deteriorates your overall being. This is not good. It should be stopped, and the only way to do this is to seek help or accept yourself. Now, I am happy to say that I no longer feel this way. I no longer seek validation, may it be academically or in other things. I am to say that I am finally contented with myself.
One of the things that I did in order to manage my thoughts, feelings, and emotions are turning off my gadgets before bed. Because as a teacher, I realized that I need to fill my cup back up in order to face each day with a positive feeling and mindset. I also practice self-care every day. Given our work, they may be frivolous things to do, but they greatly help me in coping with the burnout and stress that I feel. As educators, we may feel that we are not allowed to rest because there are so many things that should be done. But rest is what we need and what our bodies need in order to have strength in everything we do. For our students, for ourselves, and for our family, and for all the people that's relying on us.
Unlike adults who can express their situation easily verbally and answer questions accurately during an interview with a therapist, this type of therapy is not easy for a child. So I use other tools such as drawing, playing, and storytelling to help discover and identify her difficulties. Through drawing, she was able to express herself easily and externalize her feelings and fears freely without embarrassment. I was able to understand her and gradually encourage her to open up to me. This allowed me to carefully explain and make her understand how she can slowly overcome the traumatic event that happened to her. Though it wasn't an easy journey, but with patience and understanding, little by little she was able to conquer her battle.
It's been a steady progression of an illness that has taken a long time to get grips with and learn to live with. But now, I can. I learned to accept and confront my own emotions. I learned to be stronger, to face my life with the positive side. I gave myself alternative ways of thinking, of dealing with kind of, mentally exhausting situations in the hospital. Our own experiences may be different from different people who also suffered, but with the support of people who care, together with the things we can help ourselves with, we can overcome it. We can all recover, just like I did.
Mental disorder is characterized by a clinically significant disturbance in an individual's cognition, emotional regulation, or behavior. It is usually associated with distress or impairment in important areas of functioning. People who have this kind of disorder often experience stigma without them knowing. Until 1960, society sent people away if they had challenges managing their thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. Over time, we learned that we didn't have to be afraid. We learned how to help people get better. We became hopeful. But there are still remnants of those images in our culture today, which is why some people are still uncomfortable talking about it. The stigma has taken on new forms too. With more access to more people all the time, it can seem like the world is telling us it's not okay to be anything but perfect. The truth is, everyone has thoughts or feelings that can be hard to deal with. So why do we make it so difficult on ourselves by judging others who could be going through the same challenges as we are? What if, instead of seeing labels, we saw people who are struggling and be there for them so they didn't have to feel alone? What if we look past our fear of mental health and started to talk about it in a constructive way? What if, as a society, we use empowering words and healthy images to help people feel supported? Maybe then, more of us could feel comfortable telling others when we're having a hard time. Maybe more people would get the help they need. And maybe one day, we won't have to talk separately about mental health and physical health, but just about health. Each of us has the power to change our culture. We can break the stigma.